Cheers.
Hey.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, Brian.
Thanks for jumping on.
Absolutely. Good morning. Good morning.
Truth be told, I was going to have Rachel on this morning, and she's still dealing with some stuff from the website. We were going to talk about the website, but now she's actually dealing with things. She's got a lot on her plate.
No, not Rachel.
Like 5 minutes.
That doesn't sound like her at all.
Like 5 minutes before, I was like, hey, Drew, do you want to be on instead? And he's like, yes.
I'm a great
For the
B-team
people.
player.
But anyway.
Twice I have been last minute groomsman.
No, really?
Yeah, not planned on.
Not
Just like,
planned.
hey, this other guy didn't work out. Do you want to do it? I was like, yeah.
Were you at least invited to the wedding in the first place?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Not for one of them.
Because that would be, oh gosh. That's
Hey,
even
if you
worse.
need a groomsman,
Last minute
give me a
groomsman.
call.
You might get requests for that. You might. You could definitely get the hookup on a groomsman gift, though. I mean, pens are like choice groomsman gifts.
Fun fact, I reconnected with this guy after not seeing him for a very long time because I bought original Goulet wood pens as groomsmen's gifts for my wedding.
This is true.
And that's how this kind of restarted, rekindled.
Right. This was before the fountain pen, though, so they are rollerball pens.
They were, yeah, but they're still nice.
They're very high quality.
And my brother still used them and still love them.
That's awesome. As well he should. Anyway, that's not why we're here, though. We're here to talk about eyedropper pens.
What's an eyedropper pen? That sounds weird.
It does sound a little weird, doesn't it? Like, we've been doing this for a while, so we're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, eyedropper pens. But if I'm taking myself out of the fountain pen world, and I'm like, eyedropper pens. Does that mean you try to write with an eyedropper? Like, what does that mean? Essentially, an eyedropper pen is just a pen where the entire body is filled with ink. And traditionally, like back in the day, you know, there's no piston mechanism or lever and mechanism or anything like that. You would use like an eyedropper of some kind, you know, like a medicinal eyedropper, and blah, 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 blah,
Which I guess
fill the pen with
people
ink.
were more, like, they probably used those more often back then.
I feel like it's not as common anymore.
No.
There's much more like disposable kind of receptacles.
Right, and there's not a guy walking around
receptacles.
with a lot of them on the back of his carriage,
Dispensing
you know, handing them out and
Yeah.
to cure your rheumatism.
Yeah, not as much
No.
these days, but you know, the term is stuck, I guess. So essentially any pen that can be the entire body filled with ink is considered an eyedropper fill. And usually it's converted to be such. Like
Right.
you can take a cartridge converter pen, some pens that are all sealed up and don't have holes in them and the threads are tight, you can, you know, do a little silicone grease and O-ring and you can fill the entire body with ink, and voila.
That's a lot of ink.
You have it, yeah.
That is a lot of ink.
So those are convertible pens, but we have two pens here today that are relatively new carries for us that are designed from the get to be only eyedropper fill.
No conversion necessary.
Indeed.
Ready for you to drop.
Indeed. So the first one I want to talk about is Opus 88, because that we've had for a couple of weeks now. And we have a couple of different models, and there's some things we're talking about. So
Now, here's the thing. We have two models here,
yeah, yes.
but really three different pens when you get down to brass tacks.
They really are. So Opus 88, so it's a newer brand, and this is the Picnic right here. Rounded edges, kind of your traditional cigar shape. We have the Coloro, which is kind of cool. It's like a little part demonstrator, part not. And it's different shape. You know, overall size is pretty similar, but it's got more flat ends instead of rounded. And then this one is also the Coloro.
Called the Coloro
Demonstrator, but as you can see, it's really an entirely different shape, entirely different setup. It's even got a different size nib. This has a number 6 nib, whereas these have a number 5 size nib. So really, I think it's a completely different pen, and I think that the name maybe doesn't convey how different it is.
No, and it can definitely be confusing if you think that you're going to get the same thing across brands. If you're looking at these and then you pick that one, or vice versa.
If you're like, oh, I just like a clear version of this, well, it's really quite different.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger.
It does look cool though, doesn't it?
I really want one.
So what's interesting about, we'll start with this one because why not? So this is the Coloro Demonstrator. It's got a number 6 size. These are Jowo nibs, so these are German-made nibs, even though the pens hail from Asia. But they are, woo, there we go. So, of course, smooth writing nibs. We're very familiar with Jowo. That's what Edison uses. That's
Love them.
Goulet
Very
nibs.
consistent, very good quality.
Absolutely.
As far as, you know, consistency in manufacturing, I'm just a huge fan of these guys.
Yeah. So, And it's, at least this one has this kind of frosted, kind of unpolished inside, which is very actually consistent looking. It's not like you see like tooling patterns and stuff. Like they've done it very intentionally. And then it has some of these highly polished components. Like it's got a little ink window of sorts, even though it's a demonstrator. It's got like a polished ink window. And then of course the ends are polished too. So I'm kind of digging the...
Quick question for you, Brian. You know, would you consider this highly polished clear acrylic to be in right now?
Is it in?
Yeah, as far as like a fountain pen trend goes, would you consider this style to be in? Because over the last couple of years, I've seen this kind of get popular.
You mean like as far as clear, or just like any?
This kind of like thick, solid, clear plastic.
I think I think it's.
There's a couple pens I've seen that have like this on the ends that I think is getting pretty popular right now.
I would say there's a certain appeal to that right now. It's kind of up and rising. I think a lot of it started to gain in popularity over the last several years due to like independent kind of custom pen makers. I'm thinking like Sean Newton, Jonathan Brooks, Chad Herbert. I'm seeing them do a lot of this kind of stuff because it requires handwork basically. It's not as easy to kind of mass produce.
It's really coll though.
But I guess now maybe the independent guys kind of come out with their own designs and stuff like that, and it catches on and people want it. It gets emulated, inspired by from larger companies, and maybe that's what's happened here.
It looks nice.
It does look nice.
All right. So what does that thing do?
So I want to demonstrate how you actually fill this thing.
I would love that.
Of which, of course, I left my ink syringe over on the other table, but I will grab it.
Now, for you guys, if you're buying one of these things, you will have one at the ready because they come in the box with the pen. One thing to keep in mind, it comes with a glass eyedropper, but it's going to be compressed a little bit, so the glass is actually going to be in the rubber squeezy bit. So you need to pull that out because if you squeeze it, you're just going to be squeezing glass. So just make sure you pull that out first, and then it will operate.
Okay.
There we go. Brian's coming back.
Here we go.
You'll see.
Good filler, Drew.
There we go. So these guys come with a nice sleeve, cardboard box,
and I don't know whether the brown or the gray sleeve has anything to do with anything. These are samples that I got ahead of time.
There you have it. Like I said, it looks really small and stumpy, but that's because it's not all the way out. So anyway, just make sure that this thing is going to start kind of pushed to the back. If you squeeze it, nothing's happening. Just pull it back a little bit, and then.
Do that one more time to really.
All right, it's for packaging purposes. It's really compressed, so the back is actually full of glass right here, so you can't squeeze it. So you're like, oh, it's not working, and if you press it really hard, you're going to shatter the glass. So don't do that because you're super strong. Just pull it back a little bit. You see how I did that? And now it's good to go. Whip, 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 whip.
Yay. Oh, and you should make that duck sound too when you do it. So let's go ahead and fill this thing. Go ahead and pull that bad boy out.
Whoa,
we won't use the ink syringe. We'll use the supplied eyedropper.
Let's do it.
So the way you fill this thing, it's kind of interesting because you're like, wait a minute, it looks like a piston because it's got threads. It's got a piston rod. What is the deal?
What is the deal, Brian?
Well, I'll show you the deal. So you can actually remove the housing, or the entire grip, if you will. It's got an O-ring, so that's how you know it's there on purpose. But you can see it's got a piston in here, but the piston doesn't seat against the walls of the pen.
So it's still technically a piston, it just doesn't work like a traditional fountain pen piston.
So really the only reason this piston is here is to plug up the end of the housing, because when you have eyedropper pens, especially if you're traveling and changing altitudes, when you have a large cavernous body of ink like these pens have, which can get upwards of like 3 or 4 milliliters.
Ooh, cavernous.
Yes, cavernous. You like that?
Dig it.
I read a lot about spelunking this weekend on my phone. So I just, maybe caverns are on the mind. but that's what it does, is that seals up. You can kind of see, because it's a clear pen, that it does that. But when you unscrew it, it unseats it, so it allows your ink to flow from the ink chamber into the pen. So it's not unlike a vacuum filling pen. You know, that's kind of the same principle. But it doesn't actually, like, you can pump this thing all day long. It's not going to actually fill your pen.
It's just going to move the ink around.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of threads.
Yeah. So you can do this 2 ways. You can either loosen it and allow ink to get to the feed and then tighten it back and just work with what you have in the feed, or you can leave it unscrewed if you want. To have a continuous flow. But I think that if you do that, you do run the risk of a little bit more burping, right?
Yes.
Because this thing also, in plugging the ink barrel, doesn't just, make it easier to travel with, but it does kind of remove all of, like the cavernous body, it removes
cavernosity.
Yes, the cavernosity. It decreases cavernosity. Right. No, you're basically, physics-wise, you're only dealing with the pressure.
Voila. So you got to make sure you want to move the rod a little bit out of the way, so you have room for your eyedropper, and then you just kind of blip, 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 blip. I'm using an ink sample because it's about 2 milliliters of ink, which is a pretty generous amount for your average pen. Most pens won't even hold 2 milliliters, but these things will hold a lot. So if you're using an ink sample, you can clearly use more, and it's hard to do while showing it properly, but here we go. This is about 2 mils. And I think I've gotten about all I'm gonna get. And it's not even full. But that gives you an idea of what's up. And that looks good in there. This is Diamond Ancient Copper. Yeah, a little splashy. There. And
nice.
Now, because it's not primed or anything, the ink has to kind of work its way through. So I'm not gonna be able to write with it quite yet. But then, I can keep it, that's out a little far. It doesn't need to be that far. Basically, if I have it out far enough, if I just unscrew the threads a little bit, that allows the ink to come through. I can see it kind of traveling down right now. And it's working its way down there. It's not quite there yet. But I'm just going to leave it sitting for a minute, and then we're going to let it work its way down.
Now, there's not a ton of difference between these two pens operationally speaking, but you've got this this is ebonite.
Yes.
Which is really neat. A lot of, using ebonite as a design feature I thought is pretty interesting. So these, I particularly like this blue and, which one is like, it's kind of like a blue and sand.
Green.
You think that's green? Okay.
Oh, that's definitely green.
Okay, teal? You think that's green?
I mean, they're both green. Maybe this looks more green because
this looks, I don't know, it just looks sandy to me. I really like the way this is textured.
It's like an olive.
But like Brian mentioned, this guy's gonna have a number 5 nib. So there's still Yovo, still cool.
That one's inked, by the way.
Oh, it is, look at that.
A little ink on your finger. Yeah.
All right, yes. Well, I won't play with that one then because it is inked.
It is indeed.
But we could write with it. Yeah.
The concept works exactly the same. If you're familiar with any of the number 5 Yovo nibs, then you're going to be pretty familiar with this one. It's the same as Twisby. It's going to be the same as Edison. Opus 88.
Sorry, I'm all up.
Yeah, you're like hitting my finger with the thing. That's all right. This is a fine nib, so it's going to be pretty fine. Flow is smooth. Just
it's a Yovo nib. They're great.
Yeah, they're
Brian,
really
quick
good.
terminology question for you.
Okay.
Blind cap. So this is.
Yeah.
Is this a blind cap or a piston knob? It doesn't matter.
It's not a blind cap. A blind cap is removable. So like you have on the Noodler's Conrad. So it's like you unscrew the back, take it off, and then there's another little knob in there.
So blind caps have to come off the pen.
I believe so.
Okay.
At least that's how I've been using it.
That's what I always thought, but around this pen, I've heard the other term getting thrown around a little bit, and I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Thought everything I knew was a lie.
Let's move on because we got one more pen that's pretty exciting to get to.
Let's do it.
This is the Picnic. This is similar. There's going to be some other colors that we have. I have the least exciting color here.
I don't believe so. It's brown. Everybody loves brown.
No one really likes anything to do with the word or the name brown.
Wow.
Frankly.
I'm insulted.
Burn.
But anyway, it's a cool pen. If you don't like the whole ebonite kind of chunkiness of it, you get a more kind of slim feature. They got a purple one that's going to be coming out soon, which looks pretty rad.
But not as red as the brown.
So overall, though, writing experience, nib, everything is going to be very, very similar to the Coloro. It's just a different look.
There you go.
Okay.
It's a picnic of a pen.
Indeed. So speaking of, no, there's no segue here.
Speaking of picnics.
Picnic.
We have the Stipula
containers.
Passaporto, which is like a mythical creature that has not existed yet until now.
Now, you might be wondering why it says Superleggera here, and Brian's going to tell you exactly why.
It's because they printed the name Superleggera on the top and shipped it to us. And this is how it arrived. That is the whole story of what I know so far. No, I'm sure it has a meaning. I just, honestly, we got these in and we're like, that's what it says, okay. And then apparently the clear one is the Passaporto Drone Superleggera.
And here we have
And the black is the
Stealth.
Indeed.
And you'll see why.
So if you want to fly a drone, you can get one of these. The drones are really hot right now. Look at this. And look at the packaging. Like,
nice.
crispity, crunchity packaging, in my opinion. This is really tight.
And here's another eyedropper thing.
There is an eyedropper. You gotta talk about this eyedropper because this is even weirder than the
Yeah, this is a lot weirder. You think that like, whoa, this thing looks
Look how big that
totally
opening
backwards.
is.
That's not the opening, Brian. You have to take this guy.
Wait, do it again. I wasn't filming.
And he's gotta get there. There we go.
Yeah, that opening is not the opening.
No, it is not.
That's the opening. Why is it back there? I don't know. But you gotta pop
turn it
that
around.
off. Ah! Flip it around.
Flip it
There's
around.
the opening.
There you go.
Maybe they're protecting it.
Yes, they are.
Could be.
And then just fit this bad boy right over there. Fits right into
over
this
the
little
edge.
notch, and then
Boom. And it's going to feel exactly the same. And
skadoosh.
so what actually comes with the pen is the pen itself, which, look at this little thing, Drew.
Look at that.
Look at this little compact
Look at
little
that guy.
thing. It looks like a little, you know what it reminds me of is the game Dr. Mario on Nintendo back in the
pills,
day.
yeah.
It reminds me of the pills from Dr. Mario. It's a
they
little
were-
more oblong.
If only they were two-tone.
Indeed, right? We could make
So
So it's a super tiny pen. You basically have to post it if you want to even have a chance of using it. And then it's
If you
still a
wanna have a
pretty short.
chance.
It's still a pretty short pen.
it is.
But it's extra fine, medium, broad, and 1.1. So you get some nib options on these bad boys,
It's unique.
and they write pretty well.
You got a black nib on the stealth to complete the stealth look.
Indeed. Concept is similar. It's eyedropper only. There's no cartridge or converter that will fit on this thing. It's not even possible. There's nothing that can fit in there. And it's got an O-ring kind of built in right here. And, they used to have this pen. In fact, I should go grab it real quick. I know we're going long, sorry.
So that whole thing is your ink chamber right there. It also comes with ink, which is a little unique. It comes with these two little capsules that look very medicinal.
They are very medicinal.
You just pop a cap, dump it in, you're good to go. Now, these are Stipula inks. They're not, I don't think, identical copies of inks they already sell, but
Yeah.
pretty much.
So I have the original Passaporto here, which cost, I think it was an MSRP of $125 maybe?
That is more expensive than the ones we're selling here.
It is indeed. Now this one was, turned, and this one did take a cartridge, and you could also use it as an eyedropper.
But who needs
The
cartridges?
setup was a little different, but it was $125, Drew.
That's a little pen for a lot
And
of
now
money.
this one, the MSRP is $50, and we're selling it for $40. So
Now we're talking.
There's a little compromises. You lose the leaf. It's different colors, obviously. It still threads on the back and still posts and everything. This had a metal center band. This is now like a plastic. It's like a chrome coated plastic. Sort of like you have a lot of cars now that are like all chromed out. It's just chromed plastic.
Yeah, right.
So it's super, super light. And it holds a decent volume of ink, and you can carry it around, and it's a nice little like pocket purse pen.
It's a fun pocket purse pen.
So that is the Passaporto. I did nib writing samples, so you can see those. I find it to be a little on the finer side than what you might expect for a European.
Yeah,
nib.
the stub is also really fine as well.
It is, yeah. So if you like kind of a finer, which I think makes it even better for like a carry-around pen. 'Cause
Well, yeah.
You never know what kind of paper you're going to run into. So having ink on the pen or nibs on the finer
For
side.
sure, you want
is
something
good.
versatile that can write on a lot of different types of paper.
If you want to be on the finer side of life,
Ah.
you can. Anyway, I think we're going to launch these either today or tomorrow. Not 100% sure. The meeting that we have like right after
Keep
this is
checking
over,
back.
we'll know. But by the time this video is up, we will have a decision made. But anyway, that's it for eyedropper pens. Thanks for tuning in to Right Now this morning. Have a great Monday, and right on.